Hello everyone, happy Friday. I don't know about if it's been the same with you where you live, but it has been so hot here in Virginia. And it's been rough, and it's going to get hotter again this weekend. It's going to be up near 100, so if it doesn't hit 100. But anyway, I am in my air-conditioned studio, and I have one of my greyhounds here that's going to assist me, I'm sure. I wanted to show you another cane, and I know you get tired of hearing about scrap, but this is just a great cane to do if you want to get rid, again, of some of your scrap. But I'm also going to show you some other techniques that are included in here. What I'm going to start out with is a thin strip of white. And I've got two translucent pieces here. Doesn't matter how big they are, and doesn't matter how clean they are. And what I'm going to do is tint these translucents. Now, you don't have to do this. You can use opaque clay. I just happen to like the look of translucent in this particular cane. And at the end, I can show you why. But I'm going to show you how to tint translucent. Now, you can tint translucent clay with alcohol inks, like I showed you in one of my other tutorials on using alcohol ink. You can add several different things, but what I'm going to use today is embossing powder. Now, I have gotten rid of most all of my embossing powder except my Tim Holtz Distress embossing powders. I don't even know if they still make these anymore. But these have just been my absolute favorite, just because I love the colors. Look at this. This is called Weathered Wood. And it just looks like old barn wood, you know, when it turns that bluish color. And this is Tattered Rose. See how pretty? And I think they'll go well together. So what I'm going to do to begin with is I'm going to show you how to add embossing powder to your clay. Now I have this little scoopy tool. I don't know what you call it. It's just a tool that I have. It's got a little scoop. I use these two for a lot of things. I use this one also to like blend edges when I'm putting two pieces together. But if you just sprinkle your embossing powder, and I don't know if you can see this, or I'm sure you can't, but there's little, I still don't think you can see it, there's little pieces of, there's like glittery pieces, there's dark pieces, which I guess is what gives it that distressed look. And what you do is you put your embossing powder on there. I like to press it down a little bit. You don't have to. That's just what I do. And then you take it and you fold it. And this isn't very well conditioned, so the clay is cracking. But when you fold it, seal the two sides. And the fold shouldn't have cracked like mine did. But don't seal the top, because you don't want air to get trapped into your clay. And you run it through the pasta machine. Now I'm going to, excuse me for a minute, I'm going to just go ahead and do this in real time. And see, it may crack open like this did. That's okay, because you're putting a solid in with the clay, and it makes it so it doesn't stick. But just keep doing this until it looks like it's blended. Just keep bringing it out, fold it. See, it's looking better blended already. Can you see how it's turning pink? Now, how much powder you put on here is entirely up to you, but I think I want a little bit more than what's showing up here. It's a pale, pale pink, but I think I want to add a little bit more. And let me clean up all the loose powder that was on my surface. So I'm just going to put a little bit more in here. Now you can put too much, but it will take a lot. But if you put too much in it, then the clay loses its stickiness. It won't stick together. Let me make sure I got it off of my little tool this time. So let me try this and see how this looks. Sorry for the noise, but I love my motor on my pasta machine. It saves me a lot of cranking. Okay, that looks a little bit more like what I want. It's still pale, but I can see the embossing powder in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it long ways and run it through the pasta machine this way, long way, so I'll get a long sheet like my white is. Okay, and they don't have to be exact. Again, it's one thing I like about polymer clay, is just it's so forgiving, and you don't, some things you have to be exact on in order to get the look you want, but this is something you don't have to be exact. So I'm going to do the same thing with the weathered wood. And I'm going to go ahead and pause so you don't have to listen to this again, but I'll be back after I condition this clay and put the weathered wood in it. Be back. Okay, I'm back now, and I have the weathered wood and the tattered rose blended in with my translucent clay. Now in this one, I'm going to show you using a white base. And it really doesn't matter, but sometimes it helps to have an opaque clay in your design. And what I'm going to do, I've rolled them both into thin strip, not thin, but thin this way, but they're still all at the #1 setting of my pasta machine. This one looks a little bit wide through here. Doesn't really matter, but the less waste, the better. Okay, and I don't know if you can see, but it doesn't come all the way to the end of the white. That's okay. Doesn't matter. Now what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to take all 3 layers. I've got the white, and then the pink, and then the blue. And I'm going to roll it through my pasta machine, still long ways, because I'm going to make it longer. And it's still going to be at the #1 setting. So let me do that. So you see, this made a rather long, skinny section. But the reason you do this is because now we've still got the white and the pink and the blue, but it's much, much thinner, and it just makes a prettier cane. And I'm just going to even this up at the end. And I'm going to pinch the edge just so it's a little bit narrower. And then I'm going to roll it. Start rolling. And do it a little at a time, because you don't want to trap any air. And once you get it moving, then you can take an acrylic block and this puts equal pressure on it, but just roll it up. This is going to make a pretty good sized cane, so you can make lots of things with this. And I think I will show you a couple of things you can do. I think I will cut this off here at the end. So now, Doesn't look like much, does it? Just looks like a bunch of clay wound up in a ball. Well, what I'm going to do, I think I'm going to wrap this in gold, if I have some gold out here. And of course I don't. Let me wrap it in some $14-karat gold. May as well make it shiny. This is Primo 14-karat gold, and I apologize for not having this ready. But I told you in my other videos, I think as I work, and you don't have to do this, but I'm going to do it just to show you another cane that I did and how it turned out. Didn't cut them very straight. But anyway, let's line these up. I usually cut my clay into little strips. Line it up and roll it with my roller to get it kind of even. And then I'll roll it through the pasta machine. Again, I apologize for the noise. This shouldn't take long because this is pretty soft clay. The only thing that takes a long time with the metallic clay is getting all of the mica particles going in the same direction. So you always run it through the pasta machine in the same direction. And this worked pretty quickly, thank goodness. But see how shiny this is now, whereas before it was streaked? And that's because now all the mica particles are flat and going in the same direction, so the light is reflecting off. I don't know if you can tell on the side, it's dull. It's kind of a dull look. But what I need to do is well, let's see. Maybe I need to do it this way. Let me run this through the pasta machine so it'll fit this cane. And let me hope this is enough. Nope, it's not going to be enough. I need to add a little bit more clay. Actually, you know what I can do? Instead of adding more clay, I'm going to make this a little bit thinner. I'm going to roll this on a number 3. But you don't really need this very thick. So this ought to work. Again, I'll make the even edge. I'll lay this on. And roll it till it meets. Back it up. And can you see the little line? See this little line right here that you see on the clay? You can use that as your marker to cut it. And then when you roll your clay up, it will meet perfectly. See how that meets? And you just blend your seam. So that's another little trick that really helps sometimes. Straighten my camera. Anyway, so what I'm going to do now is, I should have only done half of this. Oh well, too late now. I'm going to reduce this a little bit. Not really to reduce it, but just to make sure that all of these layers are all... See, there's an air bubble right there where somewhere along the line some air got in there. You just poke a hole and then press it out. I didn't make a good enough hole with that. I need to use something sharper. There, and that presses all, and then you just press around it. But just make sure all the air is out of it. And I don't think I told you the name of this. This is called a chrysanthemum cane. And you'll see why it's called that. You know what a chrysanthemum is, the flower. Alright, well now I'm going to take, let's see what I've got. I've got a card that I got from the art clay people ages ago. And I'm going to take this, I'm going to place it on the top of this cane, and I'm going to press and cut it all the way down to the middle. Now you don't want to use a blade, because what you're counting on is this thickness of this card. When you press down, it's going to be pressing the gold down into it. Now I like to go to the opposite side and press down. Make sure you keep it all together. You don't want it to break apart. And then I turn it a quarter turn. And the farther down you go, the more you're dragging that gold clay. So let me do this here. And you don't have to be precise. Again, it doesn't really matter because flowers aren't precise. Now that you've got it done in quarters, I would go in between and press it down again, and do this so what you've pressed down 8 times. Okay, so now I've done this 8 times. You need to press it back together because you don't know, if you cut to the middle every time, eventually you're going to cut this in half. So compress it again a little bit. Make sure it's all stuck back together. And I lost my blade for a minute. Let me cut off an end so you can see what we're going towards. And look at that. Can you see that? I need to compress that a little bit more because there's an opening there. But can you see why it's called a chrysanthemum cane? Now you can do this without the white. Here's one I did without the white, and it turned into just different. This is different colors of the distressed tinted translucent. That's all this one is translucent. I covered it with gold. This is wrapped, but I covered it with gold. And then I covered an egg, a chicken egg. I went for it was a class, a workshop teaching us how to polish and shine something. And the lady that taught the class brought everybody a chicken egg that she had cleaned and emptied, of course, and cleaned. And she brought it to us, and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to use. She didn't care what you used to cover the egg, as long as you covered the egg with something, and then she was going to show us how to polish. Well, one other thing, and I ought to show you that. Where is that egg? I don't remember what I did with it. I just saw it the other day. But hold on a minute. Let me see if I can find this egg. I'm sorry, I am in the process of reorganizing my studio, and evidently I have tucked that little egg that I wanted to show you away somewhere, but I might do a tutorial and do another one, and it doesn't have to be an egg, but that just ended up being a really cute thing to show, but that's a different subject. So anyway, what I would do with this, first off, I would start to reduce this, and I like to reduce, people do it differently. I like to press the ends in a little bit. See that? Make a little waist. And then I press the other end. And then I start in the middle. And I do this because sometimes you lose so much of your cane in the ends. See, like even now, even though I press that in, now that I'm beginning to reduce, it's beginning, well, it was beginning to sink in here. Now there are things that you can do. I have got Pringles lids that I put on here. Teresa Salgado sells the, I don't know what they're called. I do her such an injustice. But little plastic pieces that go in on the ends of your canes, and she has them square and round. But anyway, once this gets to a good enough length where you can cut it in half, I would cut it in half. But it's a pretty cane. And the thing is, with this being translucent, you don't know what it's going to look like when it's applied to something. But the reason I cut this in half is there might be something I want to do with a big size. See, here's what I was talking about, losing the end. See how it sinks in? And that's because the center is not as warm as the outside. And if you don't have something to keep that from happening, and I think it's too late for me to use the little, let me see. I might have a small studio, but I have a place for everything. I'm going to see if I can get this to stick on here. These are just Pringles lids. And this one will stick on there, hopefully. And then you just squeeze around this way. I don't think this is going to work. I've gone too far. It's too late. But so I'll just lose the end of it. And I've got loads of these canes, so I really don't need them. I've even thought about putting some of these canes in my Etsy shop just because I have so many. But one thing that I would do, and I do have some scrap clay left over from the last tutorial. I never get rid of my scrap clay. Scrap clay can be used for so many things. But what I should do is let this rest, because this cane is pretty soft right now. Matter of fact, I think I will. I think I'm going to take it and put it in the freezer for a couple of hours before I slice it, because I'm just going to ruin it otherwise. And I want to make this a nice tutorial for you. But just gather up your scrap clay, and we will make something with this after this has a chance to cool off. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. It is a couple of hours since I left. This cane now was in the freezer for all that time, so it's nice and firm all the way through. I've gathered my scrap left over from my extruder cane that we did the other day. I have another extruder cane demo that I think I'm going to do. If I have time, I'll get it done today. If not, I'll try to get it done over the weekend. But anyway, I am going, you can use any scrap clay. Matter Matter of fact, I think I'm going to stick with the clay that was left over, the scraps from this, only because with this translucent clay, it's going to pick up the colors of anything that's under it. It may not be much, but it will. And with this other clay being so dark, I'm afraid it would darken what I want to do. So I'll just use the scrap. Let's see, I do believe there's another piece. That was an end that I cut off. So I'm just going to roll this into a ball. Make sure it's nice and, that there's no air bubbles. I don't know, another trick. I try to put as many tricks in here as I can think of at a time. But if you're like me, when I roll a ball like this, it never comes out round. But I have found if you reverse your hands, if you roll this way a little bit and then this way a little bit, alternate it from clockwise to counterclockwise, you end up with a pretty good ball. Now what I'm going to do is mash it. I've got the ball and now I'm going to mash it. And what I'm going to do is make a heart. And I want it for a pendant. So I'm trying to see how big I want it. And what you do to make the top of the heart, again we go back to our credit card or whatever, and make a slit in the top, and then you can kind of roll the card in each direction to kind of help shape it. See what it's done, and then just use that to shape your heart. You can make this heart in any shape that you want. I kind of like the elongated hearts a little bit, so I might pull this bottom down a little bit, and I will use my card again just to smooth some of these places that I'm at, that might not be so smooth. I might even make this a little lopsided. I think I'll make this lobe a little bit taller than the other one. And I think I'm going to twist this bottom, but I can twist the bottom after we've done what we're going to do. But I want to make it sort of a uniform thickness. I do like to keep the edges a little bit rounded. And this might be a little large for some people, but I don't like large pendants, but there are so many people that do. Some of the things I see nowadays where almost the whole chest is covered up with things. But anyway, so there's my heart. And it doesn't have to be perfect yet, because what we're going to do is cover it with these cane slices. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't look like my gold went down in as far as I wanted it to go. So we're not going to get that gold effect. But I'm going to slice thin slices. And even though this has been in the freezer, it's still going to lose its shape. But I'm going to rotate the cane as I cut it. But cut them as smooth as you can, as thin as you can. And if the end, like this one, if one side of it is cut off, it doesn't matter. You can overlap it with the next slice. But just try to get these fairly thin. It's not wanting to stay still, which is why I'm holding it. But you just need to cut as many slices as you think you'll need to completely cover your heart. Sorry for all the pauses. It seems like I've been pausing a lot when I talk lately. Drives my daughter crazy. But I think that's what mothers are supposed to do, right? Let me see if I can push a little bit this way this time. Just keeps it round. I'm hoping this will be enough. The ones that are a little thick, you can flatten with your fingers a little bit. But this was a lot easier to slice being really cold than it would have been before. It would have been just mush before. So since this one is broken, this slice, I'm going to just take it and lay it on the heart and press it so that it's adhered well. And then I'll take another one and I'll kind of go over it. See what I'm doing? I'm going to go over it. And you just push the edges down. And I'll do another one here. And just kind of follow the shape of the heart and be sure you, like here, there's a teeny tiny little hole. I don't know if you can see it or not. But what I'll do with that is get my small, here's my small roller. I'll get my small roller and just roll over it a little bit. But we can do that at the end because we're going to roll over all of it to smooth the edges. But just continue covering however you want this to look. You can place the gold outside anywhere you want. And we'll just continue to go around until the whole heart is covered. And this one's got some thick places on it, so I'm just going to pinch it to make it a little thinner. It's like that's a little thick there. Because you don't want it too thick. And when you get to a place where you are going to have, like this is going to be left over a little pinch, you can pinch it up and then just slice that pinch off and push the ends together and you hardly know it was there. That little piece. See, you don't even notice that there was a piece pinched off, and that's all going to get smoothed out. And I think that will get smoothed out there. Here's another one that's a little thick on this side. And I think I'll put that one there. When you're piecing this together and you're trying to find a good place to put a slice, try to put your complete slices like on the front or on the back, on the flat side, because you want to see those. And then you can piece it on the sides. Just continue going and just kind of urge the clay to bend where you want it to bend. I have to do another pinch here. Just don't, when you do this, just don't cut down too far. You don't want to cut all the way down to your scrap clay. And let's see, I think I can do one more slice. Well, that's okay. I was going to cut it in half anyway. So let me cut the other half off. And I'm going to put half here. I'm going to lift this up just a little bit, the edge, and tuck this raw edge in there so that it looks like this is covering up another slice. And then down here at the end, if I can pull this up without damaging it too much. Nope, don't think I can. I'm going to try to do the same thing. Let me see where I want the front to be. I think I want this to be my front, so I'm going to put that part of the cane to the back. Let's see how I'm going to do this. Sometimes it's really hard to figure out exactly how you're going to do that last piece. But I'm going to try to do it this way and bend it around. And again, I'm going to have a pinch. And slice that off. And then pull those edges together. Now, okay, now I'm going to take my little rod and I'm going to start rolling over all these edges. Whoops, I had clay on my rod and I saw it a minute ago and should have wiped it off then. Let me get this off before it just creates a bigger mess. Just very thin shavings and that'll fix it. So then you just start rolling, trying to blend in the edges so that they're not, you want it to be smooth. You don't want this to be sitting up above that. So you want it to smooth out, but you rub it in all directions because you also don't want to spread these canes but so much. And you might like a little bit of texture feeling to your cane. I like my heart smooth. And I am going to pinch this end and give it a little twist. Always go back to your work surface when you're trying to get it back to the same thickness. Matter of fact, I think I'm going to wrap it around this rod. That made it pretty. And you just continue smoothing until all of your edges are smoothed. Or at least the way that you like it. They don't even have to be smooth. Now see here, I've got a place where there's a little square area where there's no cane. So on this one, I'm going to make sure I roll towards that area on all four slices, and just keep going until it's covered up. I don't know if you can see, it's just a teeny tiny little place now, but it's so small it looks like it belongs there. So I'm not going to worry about getting that out. But just continue to smooth. Take your time, and you know that's not my virtue. I am probably the most impatient crafter out there. And when you get up to this part, you might want to use another little tool, like my wonderful tool here, to get in there and keep that crease and yet smooth out the edge of your cane. You keep putting it back here. You're not necessarily flattening it out as much as you're just making it all the same thickness. And let me look and see where else I need to roll. I think everything is pretty nice. I am going to flatten this a little bit just because there were some lumps. There we go. I think this will be my front. Now what I'm going to do, and I probably should have gotten these out before I started this, I'm going to get some little eye pins, and hopefully I have some in this box. If not, I'm going to have to do some digging. I've reorganized everything and now I can't find anything. I do believe Alright, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. There for a while I thought I was going to have to make my own eye pins, which I can do. That's not a big deal, but it would have taken me in a direction I didn't want to go. But thank goodness I found some, even though these are long ones. I don't really need them this long. So I'm going to trim these off. But see what an eye pin is? Let me find something other than my ugly hand. Can you see that? It's a piece of wire with a round circle on the end, which is the eye. That's why they call it an eye pin. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to, let's see, I think I'm going to cut this off maybe to about three-quarters of an inch. And I'm going to do two of them. And just to make sure they're the same size, I just put them together. I cut one and then I cut the other one the same size. And I don't throw these wires away, the ones that you cut off, because you can make a loop in the end of that and have another eye pin. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my craft knife which also appears, I must not have cleaned up after the last thing that I did because everything's got clay on it. I don't think I'm going to do the craft knife now that I think about it. I think I'm going to just take my pliers, except I just flung my eye pin somewhere. There it is. Luckily I have a drawer right here in front of me. I'm going to bend this a little bit, and then I'm going to bend it a little bit in another direction, and bend it a little bit in another direction. And that's just to make sure that when I stick it in the clay is going to surround it. Can you see what I did? Can you see that? Where I made just little bends in the wire. If it were straight and you baked it into the clay, then there's a good chance that it would just eventually work its way out, because metal doesn't stick to clay. So I always put a bend in it and then figure out where I want them. Actually, that's something else I want to do, I think. I think I'm going to put an eyelet in those. Let's see if I have some pretty eyelets. This gold isn't a very good gold, and that's an ecru color. I could do white. But this just kind of gives it a nice finish. So I'm going to take a toothpick. One of my favorite tools. And I'm going, let's see, if I want it to hang like this. Actually, I'm going to take two toothpicks because this way I could see. I think one's going to go there. But the toothpick will show me how a chain would hang. So I think maybe right there. See, that'll show me that if a chain, it's going to hang like this on a chain. So that's, and the only reason I'm using the toothpick is because I need a hole to put my eyelet in. And that just gives it a nicer finished look. And then hopefully my eye pin will still stick into the clay, yeah, through the eyelet. Am I out of shot again? You see, I stuck the eye pin down through the hole in the eyelet and then just guided it in, and I'm pushing it all the way down, and actually this one goes in this way. I'm going in so that the eye faces the side. I need something dark for you to see, and I don't have anything dark here. How about this? This is not dark, but it's certainly solid. But see, if I do it this way, and then these are going to the side, then you know that the link, when you hook into it, it'll hang straight. So that's in there. I'm going to make sure, just by pressing around where the wire would be, make sure that the clay closes in around it and fastens around those little areas. Now I'm going to flatten my heart a little bit, just because I think I want it flat. You don't have to, but I just think I want mine to be a little flat. Okay, and there we go. I'm going to bake this, and I'll put a picture of the baked piece at the end of the video. I hope you liked this. I don't know why the gold didn't go down into this clay any more than it did. Let me show you another cane that I did. I think I already did. The one that I did with the all translucent with the embossing powder. But see how far down the gold went into that? So when it's sliced, it comes out. And I'll add a picture of this too, but one of my avatar pictures, or one of my Facebook pictures, is a picture of an egg. And I call it my crown of thorn eggs. Crown of corn's egg. Because after I baked it, the clay kind of became translucent. The embossing powder colors didn't really show that much. But if you looked at it, it looked like a crown of thorns. And I thought about, you know, Christ and his crown that he wore before he was crucified. And so I called it my crown of thorns egg. And I don't have it anymore. I told you before that I give away most everything that I make. And I went to a retreat with some of my friends from the Ocala, Florida Guild. And we had a brown bag brown bag swap, and there was a lady, and the name that I drew for the person to receive my swap was someone that I was very respectful. I had a lot of respect for her and everything, and she had just oohed and awed over my egg. And when I drew her name, I put the egg in the brown bag. So she has the egg. So hopefully one day, I don't know if I'll ever see her again since I'm in Virginia now instead of Florida. But I hope, she was thrilled when she got it. Couldn't believe she got it. I'm still just piddling. I can't seem to leave things alone. I need to just stop and go ahead and bake it. But I'm going to bake this, and I'll put a picture of it at the end of the video so you can see what it looked like. And I'll put a picture of my egg up there that I used using this. And if I ever get brave enough to do another egg, I might do that. You notice this one is a plastic egg. I covered a plastic egg with this one. And can you hear that? I put some little glass beads inside so it would shake, just because I wanted to. So that's one of the advantages. But I don't even think I have any plastic eggs. I think I've either used them all or destashed them one. But I appreciate you watching my videos. If you have any idea of anything else you'd like to see, please put it in the comment section under this video. If you'd like more canes, if you'd like more projects like this that might involve a cane, or anything that you would like to see me do, just let me know. And if I know how to do it, I will try and create a video for you. So until the next time, everybody stay cool and have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you soon. Bye.